Hey everyone, this is Anam. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we'll be discussing the summary of lesson number 4 from the book Moments of Class 9. In the Kingdom of Fools by A.K. Ramanujan. Foolish people are unpredictable and they can be very dangerous. So one must stay away from them even when they offer benefit for some time. This is the theme of the story. A guru and his disciple go to the kingdom of fools. What happens next? Let's find out. As it is clear from the title itself, the story is about a kingdom of fools. So everyone in the kingdom is a fool. Both the king and the minister are idiots. They don't want to run their kingdom like other kings. They want to do something different. So they change night into day and day into night. And they order everyone that they're supposed to follow the rule. So they have to wake up in the night, run their businesses, do their work, till their fields. They could do their work only after dark. And as soon as the sun is up, they all have to go back to their beds and sleep. So the king also announces that if anyone breaks the rule, that person will be punished with death. So obviously people are afraid of the king, they are afraid to die, so they have no option but to follow the king. The king and the minister are delighted at the success of their project. They are very happy that people are following them. One day, a guru and his disciple arrive in the city. The city is very beautiful, they like it, but they observe a strange thing. It's broad daylight, but everyone is asleep. Not a single person is to be seen in the streets. Not just humans, in fact, the animals are also asleep. Cows, buffaloes. The second weird thing which they notice is that everything in that city is available in one dudu. Dudu is the currency of that kingdom. So whether they purchase a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, everything's cost is just one dudu. They are very happy because now they can purchase anything they want and they don't have to pay a lot for this. But soon, since Guru is a very wise man, he realizes that this is a kingdom of fools and it's not a good idea for them to stay there. Because you never know what fools will do, what harm they may cause to you. So he discusses it with his disciple and he suggests that we should leave this kingdom as soon as possible. The disciple doesn't listen to his guru. Why? Because all he wants is cheap food. So he refuses to leave. Although the guru tries his best to convince him, but he doesn't agree to move. So finally, Guru has to give up and he leaves him alone. After some day, the disciple gets very fat. Like I said, everything is available only in one dudu and he's very fond of eating. So he keeps eating, he keeps stuffing himself with bananas, rice, ghee. So he gets very fat. After some days, a strange incident happens in the kingdom. One day, a thief breaks into a rich merchant's house, making a hole in the wall. The wall is weak, it's very old, so it falls on the thief and he dies on the spot. His brother goes to the king to ask for justice. Now, a thief has died while carrying out his loot, and his brother is going to the king to ask for justice also. Only a fool can do it, right? So he blames the rich merchant for his death. He says that when my brother went to his house, he was carrying out his ancient trade and his wall fell on him. So if he would have built a good strong wall, then my brother would be still alive. He would not die. So this rich merchant is responsible for my brother's death and justice should be served. He requests the king that the rich merchant, he should be executed, he should be killed. The king is also a fool, so he listens to his story and he orders his messengers to call the rich merchant. rich merchant is summoned in the court, and when he comes, he puts the whole blame on the bricklayer. He says to the king that, yes, my highness, it was my house, it was my wall, but it isn't my fault that the thief has died. Because it wasn't me who had built the wall. I had given the contract for building it to a bricklayer, right, who built my house. So it's his fault. He did not work properly, so which is why the thief has died. So he should be the one who he should be the one who has to be punished, right? So after listening to the rich merchant story, king orders his messengers to call the bricklayer. The bricklayer comes, who is now an old man because so many years have passed. He comes and he puts the whole blame on a dancing girl. So he narrates his part of the story. He defends himself by saying that, yes, it's true that I was the one who had built the wall, and it was indeed a weak wall. It wasn't a good wall, but it isn't my fault that I've made such a wall. King asks why. Then the old bricklayer says that actually, when I was building the wall years ago, I couldn't focus on my work. I couldn't concentrate because there was this one girl, the dancing girl. She was moving up and down the street, jingling her anklets again and again. And hence, she distracted me, and I couldn't focus on my work and do it properly. So it's not my fault, it's her fault, and she should be called. She should be punished. So he gives the address of dancing girl. The king sends his messengers to call the dancing girl, who is of course not a girl anymore. Now she's an old lady. She comes and she puts the whole blame on the goldsmith. She says that yes, indeed I was walking up and down when this bricklayer was making the wall years ago, and it's true that he got distracted because of me. But it isn't my fault. I wasn't moving up and down again and again deliberately. I had to go. She says that I had placed an order for some jewelry with the goldsmith. And that day I had to get my delivery. So whenever I went to get my jewelry, the goldsmith kept postponing it. He kept saying that, okay, come after 1 hour, come after 2 hours, your jewelry will be ready at 3 o'clock, at 5 o'clock. So she said he made me move up and down about a dozen times. So it's not my fault, it is his fault. So he should be called and executed. The fool king orders his messengers to call the goldsmith. He's a very old man now, he can hardly move. He comes and he puts the whole blame on a merchant. He says that yes, whatever dancing girl has said, it's completely true. It's not a lie. But I did not do it deliberately either. I had to do it. I couldn't complete her preparing her jewelry because I was working on the jewelry of a merchant, a rich merchant. So they had a wedding in their home that time. So he pressurized me to complete his order first. So obviously, due to that, the dancing girl's order got delayed, and I couldn't give delivery at the appointed time. So it's not my fault that rich merchant forced me. And he also said that, King, my highness, you know that how these rich people are. They're very impatient, right? So it's the rich merchant's fault who had forced me to complete his order first. The king sends his messengers to call the rich merchant. And ironically, that rich merchant who had forced the goldsmith to complete his order first, he is the father of this rich merchant in whose house the thief has died. Right? So it's a complete circle. Thief's brother blames the rich merchant blames the bricklayer blames the dancing girl puts the blame on the goldsmith, and the goldsmith blames the rich merchant, right? rich merchant's father. But the messengers come and tell that the rich merchant is dead. So his father, the rich merchant's father, is now dead. So the king has to punish somebody. The king has to execute somebody. After much deliberation with his minister, he passes an order. He says that since his father has died, the rich merchant will be executed in his place. He will be killed. So they call the rich merchant and they're all set to kill him. The rich merchant says that, how can you do it? It's not fair. I wasn't the one who is responsible. So why should you kill me? You should have killed my father who is already dead, right? To this, the fool king says that since you have inherited everything from your father, you have inherited his land, his property, his money, his riches, so you're bound to inherit his sins also. So, since your father is dead, in his place you will be executed, and this order is final. The king also orders for a new stake to be made for the execution. After some days, when the stake is made, it's too large for the rich merchant's neck. He cannot fit in the stake properly because he's very thin. Now, instead of getting a new stake made, right? The king says that, okay, since the stake is made, I don't want to waste the stake. So instead of executing this rich merchant who is a thin man, find me a fat man who would fit properly in the stake. So this is his version of it. He says that, okay, find a fat man who would fit properly in the stake and we will execute him. So the messengers go searching for a fat man and they bring the disciple because after eating a lot, the disciple has become very fat. The disciple doesn't understand what is happening to him, right? He says hundreds of times that it's not my fault. I haven't done anything. I just live here peacefully. So how can you just catch me and kill me? How can you execute me for a crime which I haven't even committed? But the fool king and the minister don't listen to him. At that time, the disciple realizes his mistake. He remembers the words of his guru that fools can do anything, anytime. They can harm you in any way. Fools can never be trusted, right? So he feels very bad. He realizes his mistake. But his guru comes to know his guru has magical powers with which he can see everything. He can see the past, the present, as well as the future. So in his vision, he sees everything. He understands that his disciple is in problem and he needs him. So he doesn't abandon his disciple since he did not listen to him. He comes to help him. And as soon as he reaches, he says something in his ears. Of course, the guru has come with a plan. So he shares his plan with his disciple. He mutters something in his ears. After that, the guru says to the king that, "Oh, my highness, oh the greatest king, please execute me first." Because the guru is greater than the disciple, so you shouldn't kill the disciple, you should kill me first. And after you kill me, you kill the disciple. Now, the king is confused. I mean, who would ask for a punishment like that, right? Who would want to be killed? So the king is confused, and the disciple just then, since he's aware of the plan, he says that no, you shouldn't kill my guru. You have to kill me. So kill me first, and then you have to kill my guru, right? Then you kill my guru. So they are confused. Why they are just why they are dying to die? Why they are so excited to die, right? So the king asks the guru that, why are you saying that, why do you want to be killed in his place? So the guru says that, okay, I'll share with you a little secret. So he says that this kingdom is the greatest kingdom in the world and you're the greatest king. There is no king as good as you are. And this stake which you have in your hands, this stake is the stake of justice which God has sent for you, right? So he says that whosoever dies on the stake first will be reborn as the next king of this kingdom. And whosoever dies second, he will be reborn as a minister of this kingdom. So obviously, the king and the minister, they both are fools. They fall for it, they fall for the story, and they postpone the execution. They send them to a jail and they say that, okay, tomorrow we'll see about it, what is to be done. And in the night, they discuss with each other now what should they do. They do not want to lose their kingdom. They think that, okay, if they kill the guru and the disciple, then they will become the new king and the minister in their next birth, and we will not be kings anymore when we die. So they come up with a plan, a foolish plan. They decide that, they should die on the stake, right? So that they could be reborn as the king and the minister again in their next life also. So the king goes to the executioners and he tells them that anyone who comes to you, you have to execute them as soon as possible. Executioners agree that, okay, we'll execute them. After that, they go to the jail, they release the guru and the disciple, and they disguise themselves as the guru and the disciple. So the king disguises himself as the guru and the minister disguises himself as the disciple. They go to the executioners, and as they were told already, they kill the king and the minister. Next day, when their dead bodies are fed to the vultures, everyone comes to realize that, okay, it wasn't the guru and the disciple who was killed, it's the king and the minister. Now, guru and disciple are released, so they are free to go. Using his wisdom, Guru managed to save his own life as well as the life of his disciple. The people of the kingdom are worried now because their king and minister both are dead. Now they want a new king and a new minister. So they request the guru to become their new king and they request the disciple to become their new minister. Initially, the guru refuses, but as the people request him, so he agrees on one condition. He says that I will not be ruling a kingdom of fools. I want you all to lead normal lives now. Everyone agrees. So that day onwards, in that kingdom, everything is normal. The day is day and night is night. They wake up in the day, do their work, and they sleep in the night. And nothing from that day onwards is available in one Dudu. So yeah, from this story we get this message, as it was told at the beginning of this summary, that we should not live with the fools because they can harm us in any way. They can never be trusted. They are just unpredictable. If you like the video, then please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you.